Hello and welcome to this week's Man vs. Reality. It's been a little bit of can't even speak now. Not done it for so long. Yeah, it's been a minute since we did one of these. Life just gets in the way every now and again, doesn't it? But as I keep saying, I'm really enjoying doing them. So as and when I can do them, that's exactly when they're going to happen. Still finding it interesting. So that's it. Hopefully, some people are watching every now and again and get something from it. If not, then it's just me shouting into the wind, and be honest, I'm quite happy with that. Like the whole purpose of this thing was just to prove that you shouldn't need like a degree in computing or googling to be able to find out the truth about stuff, and I think we've managed to do that so far. A few things that I got wrong, something that I did get wrong the other day. So if you watched the one on inflation and what's the other thing called, inflation and interest rates, did one on that. Now I was saying that if inflation stays at 2% and it rises by 2% every single year, I said that in 50 years all the prices would double. Actually, that's really shitty, stupid maths, and it does make me sound like a bit of an idiot. It's actually every 35 years that the prices double if inflation stays at 2%. Obviously, at the minute, it's like at 13%, something like that here in the UK. We are getting shafted, and it's about to get a hell of a lot worse. But we've kind of done that to ourselves, and we kind of do it. Probably one of the reasons I haven't done a show on Brexit yet, because it would just be me shouting and crying. But yeah, what I did forget to do when I was working out the inflation maths on the rate of prices doubling was the fact that when it goes up by 2%, that figure is then higher. So it means the 2% it goes up by the next year is higher again. And then the 2% after that is a higher figure again. So each time you add 2% on, the figure gets bigger, which means the next 2% that you're adding on gets bigger, because 2% of a bigger figure will be a bigger figure. That's what I didn't factor in last time. So yeah, instead of every price is going up every 50 years, if inflation stays at 2%, they double every 35 years, which is a hell of a lot more depressing. In fact, it's about 15 years more depressing. Is that good maths? Yeah, I think that's good maths. What else? There was something else that I wanted to say as well. No, I don't really know. So anyway, hope you're all good. We're in the middle of watching Matt Hancock be depressingly successful on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Everybody's got really short fucking memories, man. Over 150,000 people died on his watch, and while he is trying to make it look as if it's not his fault and manipulate people into thinking that he just got bad advice and acted on that bad advice, fuck him. He was the one in charge. There were stories going about that were saying like he had information that he didn't act on and all that. Let me just, if you're watching this on a video, this is the only thing that's going to affect you right now. Ooh, there we go. Look at that. Bang, bang. Trying to I don't know whether that made any difference. It doesn't actually. So the screen recorder that I'm using to do this. So if you're listening to the podcast, this ain't going to affect you in any way. But if you're watching the videos on YouTube, then it might do. So the screen recorder that I'm used to using one that actually shows you the video of me and what I'm doing, but it doesn't. I've got like 3 or 4 screens set up, and it doesn't show you like the feed from my webcam. It just shows you the feed of the screen, and then it's recording. So I don't really know what I'm doing. Or what my face looks like or anything along those lines. But yeah, we do crack on. This week, I wanted to talk about free speech. Okay, there was 2 topics that really sprang to mind this week. As I said, I got a list of things that I want to get through. I made a big list before I started doing this show and was like, right, I want to do this, 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 and this, because I thought, oh my God, I'm going to struggle for topics. Really didn't, because the world is fucking nuts. So I'm just responding to how nuts the world is and trying to do a topic that that's very current and like in everybody's mind. I do record them like a week before. So if you're listening to this like now, say, because I try and post it on a Sunday at dinner time. So if you're listening to it on the Sunday, I've recorded this the Sunday before. So you'll know, listening to this now, whether Matt Hancock won I'm a Celebrity or not. I don't know yet. The results of that are this evening. So the current topic that I'm talking about is always going to be a week late, but yeah, it allows me to do more stuff with it, lets me be a lot more chilled out with the recording and making of it and actually posting it online, because I think it'd be way too much of a rush for me to be doing it all in one day. So yeah, that's what I do. A little peek behind the curtain there. I'm sure you thought it was very boring. But yeah, like I say, there was two topics that I wanted to speak about. Neither of them were on the list that I've actually made yet. First one was climate change. Not going to do that this week. I think I'm going to do that for like next week's show because I don't have a massive amount of time this week. And other stuff has come up as well at the same time. So the reason I wanted to do climate change was like, well, what is it? Is it COP27 that's just happened or COP23 or whatever? The big climate summit that was in Egypt that we weren't going to go to. And also there's been a load of protesters knocking about here, there and everywhere. But like I say, I'll talk about that next week. Because Elon Musk bought Twitter about a month and a half ago now. And he did it in order to apparently preserve free speech. He said he was going to tackle the bots. He hasn't. In fact, what he's done is a series of Twitter polls, which it looks like was mainly answered by bots. And then he's allowed the results of those Twitter polls to dictate how he acts on the website. He's just reinstalled Donald Trump because of a poll that he took. Now, like Elon Musk's reason for trying to back out of the deal for buying Twitter was he thought it was 80% bots. Okay, so he's done nothing to get rid of any of those bots, but now he's allowing them to make massive decisions when it comes to running the company. He also said that it should be as neutral a site as possible where everybody should have an equal voice, and then told everybody immediately to vote Republican in the upcoming American elections. And then after the day after Donald Trump announced that he was going to run for president in 2024, which I'm hoping is going to be hilarious, right? I'm hoping it's not going to be actually taken seriously. I hope he just gets the shit kicked out of him and it is really funny to watch and then we never hear from him again. But you never know. Yeah, so the day after he announced that he's going to run for president, he puts him straight back on Twitter. Now, Trump has seen his ass. I don't know whether he's seen his ass with Donald Trump, with Elon Musk, or whether he's just upset with Twitter in general. But he's not posted anything as of like right now. Me sat here, as far as I'm aware, he's not used his reinstated Twitter account to tweet anything to anyone, which is quite interesting. He does, is it Truth Social that he set up, which was crazy, which he said was for free speech, but is again another toss-filled right-wing conspiracy nutcase realm for assholes, which seems to be what Elon Musk is turning Twitter into. Like, I'm really sad. I love Twitter. So I was on it for a long ass time. So I've got the Man vs. Reality account. I've still got that open. My personal account, I was on it for years and years and years. And then when the rumours started about Elon Musk buying it, I got rid of it. Because I was like, not interested in what that guy's going to do to it. He is a con man and not a very nice person by all accounts. And I'm not interested in what he does with all that power that he's now got. So I deleted my account. Then it looked like the deal was falling through, and it looked like Elon Musk wasn't going to buy Twitter. So I reactivated my account and I had a joyful couple of months. Unfortunately, they had changed the algorithm, which I noticed when I got back on it, which meant that I was seeing more people's tweets from people that I don't follow than I was of people that I actually do follow, which was a mess. And I'm admittedly a massively woke left-wing hippie. All the people that I do follow are lovely wokies like myself, so all the people's tweets that I was seeing were horrible right-wing arse-white pundits just spouting utter shit and being awful to people. And because I'm a moron, I can't help but to respond to those people on Twitter. So when they're writing some bullshit, I'll reply. The issue with doing that is that then fucks up your personal algorithm, because it's like, this guy likes replying to all these assholes, we'll just show him more assholes. So I managed to get myself into an awful loop of just seeing the worst people on the internet constantly, because I kept talking to them. None of them ever responded, which is a shame. I'd have done a good argument, I think, with some of them. So that lasted until it was announced that Musk had officially closed the deal. and then I shut my account again. And then a couple of weeks after that, everything fell apart with Twitter in a way that I didn't imagine. So he fires half his staff, has to beg a load of them to come back because it turns out the job they did was actually really important. Most of them said no. Then he issued an ultimatum to the staff that stayed that says you either need to commit to being hardcore for Twitter 2.0, whatever that means. Basically, it means he wants you to work twice as hard for no extra money. And he said, if you can't commit to being hardcore, then I'll give you 3 months severance pay and you can get out. And like another 50% of those staff went, all right, bye. And most of them left as well. So it sounded like Twitter was literally going to fall apart by the end of the week. It's still up, still running from what I've heard. Apparently there are a hell of a lot of glitches on it. The copyright system that Twitter used to use is no longer working anymore. So people are posting full movies in tweets in like 2-minute bites. So you get in a thread, there's a full movie that you can watch 2 minutes, and then the next one on a thread's the next 2, and then it carries on like that, which is obviously something you shouldn't be allowed to do, which is naughty. The latest thing that I heard that I was reading about, which is kind of crazy and amazing, is that because a lot of the protections are going away, and a lot of the things that kicks arseholes off the website, because he's literally just bringing back every single arsehole that's been banned. The App Store, Apple's App Store, and the Google Play Store, they've both said they're going to remove Twitter as an app if he carries on doing this shit. And he said he's going to make his own phone. Oh my God, I really do hope he makes his own phone. I think that's the thing that would bankrupt him. Like, the way he acts, the way he is, he's the worst person ever. Why would you want a phone off that person, right? Oh God, I don't get it. Like, Teslas catch fire all the fucking time. So why would you want something in your pocket which could basically be a bomb? And also, if he does that, then like Apple and everybody will just get together and ruin him. And I think that's the thing that could take him down. So my fingers are crossed that Elon Musk is forced into making his own phone to try and save Twitter. It's going to cost him like 99% of his money, and everything just goes down the pan for him. And he just feels bad for the rest of his life because he's... I mean, you might think like I'm really bad, but I'll like try and explain my hatred of Elon Musk so much. Okay, so he's a billionaire. So in order to be a billionaire, you've got to have a certain mindset. You've got to be quite ruthless in business and stuff. But the reason I hate him is because of the way he portrays himself. He tries to portray himself like a Tony Stark, Iron Man, but also someone who's trying to save the entire world. Tesla's, the cheapest Tesla is £35,000. That's not someone who's trying to save the world. That's someone who's trying to profiteer and trying to make it look like they saved the world. Like, if you wanted to actually save the world, Teslas would be 10 grand each. They'd be Billy Basic. They'd be really, really reliable, and you could plug it in and charge up your own electric car, and it'd cost about 10 grand, and they'd be really cheap to buy, really cheap to maintain. That's not someone who's interested in saving the world. That's someone who's interested in cashing in on people who care about the environment. He also portrays himself as this genius. It turned out recently that he's been lying about 2 of the degrees he's had, like a degree in engineering and science or something like that. He said he had. He hasn't got either of them. I think he's got an honorary degree in something. He bills himself as this amazing, person who's built these incredible businesses from the ground up, and he's done all this amazing shit. But he hasn't. All he's done is buy the right companies at the right time, and then bullied out their CEOs and ran them the same way that he's trying to run Twitter. Basically been an absolute monster with all the people that work there, and that's how he's made his money. He's just been cruel and disgusting. All he is a businessman. He's not a genius. He's not innovative. And if his parents weren't massively rich, he wouldn't be where he is now. Like, one of the first companies he set up before he bought Tesla, he didn't like open and create Tesla and doesn't design any of the cars. He bought Tesla. But before he did that, the first company that he initially set up, his dad gave him something like 20% of the investment in the first round of investors, and all of the rest of the investment in that company came from his dad's mates. So if his dad wasn't rich and didn't have a load of rich friends, he'd be nowhere. He'd be absolutely nothing. He'd just be that guy in high school who just got bullied for the entire time. Um, I actually reckon he would probably be a school shooter if it wasn't for that. No, I'm kidding. I can't back that up. That was a joke. Yeah, definitely going to get in trouble with that. So, yeah, along those notes, I never really trust anybody who bangs on about being about free speech and trying to say free speech. Because you have free speech. You could say whatever you want at any time ever. What you don't have is free speech without consequence, all right? So someone who is banging on about the fact that they want to be able to say whatever they want, they always just want to say really shitty, horrible stuff about people, which is always really confusing because it's like, well, I want to say free speech. You got free speech. What do you want to say? I want to say the N-word. Well, then don't be surprised when a black person punches you in the mouth because that's what you deserve. Why do you want to say the N-word? People find it offensive. Like, say something nice. Like, again, back to Elon Musk. Like, didn't the leader of the UN challenge him to cure world hunger, to solve world hunger? I think he put out something along the lines of £6 billion could solve world hunger. So Elon Musk was like, right, you prove to me that 6 billion could solve world hunger and I will give you £6 billion. So the leader of the UN got back to him and went, yeah, okay, follow this link to this website. We've set out term for term where the money would go, where it would need to go, what we would need to do, what we would need to ship where, all the logistics and everything along those lines. It's all fully costed here on this website. Give us 6 billion. And then Elon Musk just went quiet and didn't do now. Like, he has got such a disgusting amount of money that he could sell like not even an amount of Tesla shares that would affect his life in any way, shape or form and kill world hunger. He would kill it off completely dead. It might not be like forever. That might be a scheme that lasts a year, but imagine solving world hunger for a year. Imagine what people could accomplish within that year if they weren't worried about their bellies every single second of the day. Makes a big deal, doesn't it? It's another reason why I hate him, because he could do it, but he just doesn't. And I don't get why he doesn't. Because why would you? You'd still be the richest man in the world, even giving away 6 billion. But, like, if you read studies into like the way people get rich, it does make them like a worse and worse person. It makes them more of a hoarder. Apparently you can see it when you're playing like Monopoly and shit like that. Like anybody who's winning, even like their entire posture will change. Like if you're losing and you're getting poorer, you'll get smaller in your seat and you'll be fiddling with yourself and be a bit awkward. But if you're winning and you're Billy Big Balls, you've got every like spot on the table and everyone's paying you rent. You'll sit there, you'll get a bit louder, you'll get a bit more boisterous and your body language will get a bit more intimidating. And that's what you see like on a grand scale, doesn't it? When people get to a certain amount of richness, they basically turn into dragons. And yeah, never want to give any of their money away. So yeah. Right, so let's kick things off. Sorry, quick drink there. That's what you all wanted to hear. So, free speech. First off, let's just Google what free speech actually is, shall we? There we go, there's mouse. Including freedom speech. That's quite good. Okay, so Wikipedia. Now, here we Amnesty. Let's have a look at that. So this is the Amnesty International website. Freedom of expression. A little bit different to what we said, but I imagine freedom of speech will be included in this. So yeah, this is the Amnesty International website, who are basically lovely people who fight for freedom and try and get rid of oppression as much as they can. This is amnesty.org/en what do we do /freedom of expression. Oh, excuse me. Key facts. Article 19, freedom of expression, is protected by Article 19 of the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. That's quite an interesting one. Why is freedom of expression important? Press freedom, freedom of speech. Right, there we go. So we've skipped into the introduction and all that kind of thing and skipped down to the paragraph on freedom of speech on the Amnesty website. Freedom of speech, or freedom of expression, applies to ideas of all kinds, including those that may be deeply offensive. While international law protects free speech, there are instances where speech can legitimately be legitimate. They missed the word out there. That's not just my reading, is it? You see, look, people making mistakes makes my stupidity even more obvious, I think. There are instances where speech can legitimately restricted under the same law, legitimately restricted under the same law, such as when it violates the rights of others or advocates hatred and incites discrimination or violence. That's the topic I wanted to get onto in a minute there, because that's the difference between free speech and hate speech, isn't it? So hate speech would surely be speech that violates the rights of others or advocates for hatred and incites discrimination and violence against other people. However, any restrictions on freedom of expression must be provided by law, protect certain public interests or the rights of others, and be clearly necessary for that purpose. In 2018, Amnesty International published research that found that Twitter, is a platform where violence and abuse against women flourish, often with little accountability. Instead of the platform being a place where women can express themselves freely and where their voices are strengthened, Twitter leads women to self-censor what they post and to limit their interactions. As a company, Twitter is failing its responsibility to respect women's rights online and inadequately investigating and responding to reports of violence and abuse in a transparent manner. That's in 2018. And anything that they put in place since then, Elon Musk has just got rid of. So it was already getting investigated by Amnesty International for abuses against women and for women being beaten down. And he's making that worse for women and better and easier for the people doing the abusing. So that's literally what he's doing with Twitter right now, is literally the opposite of free speech. Like, third paragraph I've read on the first website I clicked on has basically just blown Elon Musk's entire argument out of the water. Absolutely amazing. See, because like with everything, like with rights and freedoms, it's like the beautiful, like, oh my God, what they're called? I can't think of the word. So basically, it's like a beautiful contradiction. So in order to have freedom, you have to give up some personal freedoms. All right. So in order for the freedom of society to prevail, you have to sacrifice some personal freedoms because you get more freedom for it for everyone. And in order for everybody to have free speech, you have to limit certain people's speech. Because how can he say he's a platform for free speech if women are having to censor themselves in what they say because people are oppressing them, right? So if one person's free speech oppresses another person's free speech, then where does that leave you? Do you still support them to say whatever they want? That's a really interesting one, which is why there needs to be laws around it. Oakley dokley. Human Rights Act, freedom of expression. That's Article 19 that we've just mentioned. US court. What does free speech mean? Okay, so this is a United States court. This is uscourts.gov. So it's an American website, obviously. So freedom of speech in America is it First Amendment it's protected by? People do get confused because I'm pretty sure the First Amendment just says that you're allowed to... Okay, so among other cherished values, the First Amendment protects freedom of speech. The US Supreme Court has often struggled to determine what exactly constitutes protected speech. The following are examples of speech, both direct words and symbolic actions, that the court has decided are either entitled to First Amendment protections or not. And that's quite interesting. Right, okay, so this is in America, so this is what's protected by the First Amendment in America and what isn't. So this is quite an interesting one. Freedom of speech rights. Freedom of speech includes the right not to speak, specifically the right not to salute the flag. That's a good one, isn't it? Because they're crazy. America's basically a cult, isn't it? Like making someone do a Pledge of Allegiance in school, standing up with their hand over their chest, that's cult behaviour. If someone told you that a Middle Eastern country was doing that, you'd you'd go mad. Americans would go nuts, saying that it's indoctrination and all that kind of thing. Yeah, I don't get why that still passes. Includes the rights of students to wear black armbands in school to protest a war. Yep. The right to use certain offensive words and phrases to convey a political message. That's an interesting one. This is a cool website because it shows underneath the court cases which defined these descriptions and rights, which is cool. I'm not going to read all those out. If you want to do it, check out the video, or you can check out the website. This is uscourts.gov, about federal courts, educational resources. Yeah, if you go onto the uscourts.gov and just Google free speech, just search free speech, then I'm sure you'll be able to find it. Okay. To contribute money, under certain circumstances to political campaigns. Oh, that's an interesting one, and also an horrible one. So yeah, it's basically freedom of action, isn't it? As well as everything else. So, but then again, if you're contributing money to a political campaign, you're paying for them to say what you want them to say, aren't you? Yeah, cool. To advise commercial products and professional services. To engage in symbolic speech, e.g. burning the flag in protest. Oof, that's good. So you can't be arrested for burning the flag in the UK. I wonder if that applies to the US flag. I wouldn't do it in the US. You would definitely get strung up. Okay, so freedom of speech does not include the right to incite imminent lawless action, right? So you can't say to someone, go and break the law, basically. So that's not protected by the First Amendment. Donald Trump did that on January the 6th, didn't he? He basically incited the January the 6th storming of the US Capitol. So, yeah, interesting. So that wasn't protected by the First Amendment. It doesn't protect the right to make or distribute obscene materials. I wonder what comes under obscene materials. Oh, that's going to be a big one. It doesn't protect the right to burn draft cards as an anti-war protest. Holy shit. So if you're being drafted into the US military because they've got a big war on, I think the last time the draft was in process was Vietnam. I might be wrong about that. I don't think I am. Yeah, you're not allowed to burn your draft card. That's nuts. Can you just write no on it, though? I don't know anymore. Can you just be a conscientious objector? I think you can. I think that's within your remit of things to do. Doesn't protect the right to permit students to print articles in the student newspaper over the objections of the school administration. Okay. So you've got to adhere to your school's rules. It doesn't protect the rights of students to make an obscene speech at a school-sponsored event. So you've got to go to school rules again. It doesn't protect the rights of student to advocate legal drug use at a school-sponsored event. Illegal drug use, sorry, at a school-sponsored event. Okay. So you can't say, like, go to this school dance and smoke weed. Yeah, okay. That's quite an interesting side piece. Let's have a look at what Wikipedia says on the subject. Freedom of speech is a principle that supports the freedom of an individual or a community to articulate their opinions or ideas without fear of retaliation, censorship, or legal sanction. So, what we were just talking about then, Twitter not allowing women to speak freely, that's against their freedom of speech laws, isn't it? Because Twitter's an American company as well, right? Because it'll come under all those First Amendment things that we were just talking about. Yeah, cool. The right to freedom of expression are used interchangeably in political discourse. However, in a legal sense, the freedom of expression includes any activity seeking... Okay, doke. So, let's go on now to see what they have to say about hate speech. Let's go for the difference between... We've already kind of answered this, but because it was saying before, anything that is oppression or incites violence or intimidation towards others, that's more of hate speech, isn't it? Hate speech is not free speech. What's COE.internet? Okay. So this is the UN's website. Hate speech versus freedom of speech. Okay, so this isn't a very long page on it. Hate speech versus freedom of speech. This is UN.org, the United Nations official website, I think. Yes. Yeah. So the need to preserve freedom of expression from censorship by states or private corporations is often invoked to counter efforts to regulate hateful expression, in particular online. Freedom of opinion and expression are indeed cornerstones of human rights and pillars of freedom and of free and democratic societies. These freedoms support other fundamental rights, such as a peaceful assembly, so the right to peaceful protest, to participate in public affairs, and to freedom of religion. It is undeniable that digital media, including social media, have bolstered the right to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas. Therefore, legislative efforts to regulate free expression unsurprisingly raise concerns that attempts to curb hate speech may silence dissent and opposition. Okay, so that's quite a complicated one, that, isn't it? So you've got to be careful that they aren't victimizing people, but you're not allowed to stop people from criticizing people, right? So it's all about the way you do it. If you say, I think that you're wrong, then that's freedom of speech. If you say, I think that you're wrong, you fucking idiot, then that's hate speech, isn't it? Or if I say, well, no, it isn't, is it? Because then you're just giving your opinion on them being a fucking idiot. If you say that you're wrong and I think that your mouth should be sewn shut so you could never speak again, then that's oppression, isn't it? So that's hate speech. You shouldn't be allowed to ever speak again because I think you're wrong. That'd be hate speech, wouldn't it? Yeah, so to counter hate speech, the United Nations supports more positive speech and upholds respect for freedom of expression as the norm. Therefore, any restrictions must be an exception and seek to prevent harm and ensure equality for public participation of all, alongside the relevant international human rights laws. Provisions, the UN provides key guidelines. Yeah, states on the difference between freedom of expression. No. Right, interesting. So let's have a look at a definition of hate speech. Hate speech definition. Okay, so we've got a dictionary definition that's come up there. Abusive or threatening speech or writing that expresses prejudice against a particular group, especially on the basis of race, religion, or sexual orientation. An example, we do not tolerate any form of hate speech. Council of Europe, blah, 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 blah. What is hate speech? So this is the United Nations website again. What is hate speech? In common language, hate speech refers to offensive discourse targeting a group or an individual based on inherent characteristics such as race, religion, or gender, and that may threaten social peace. There is no universal definition of hate speech under international human rights laws. The concept is still widely disputed, especially in relation to freedom of opinion and expression, non-discrimination and equality. To provide a unified framework for the United Nations to address the issue globally, the UN strategy and plan for action on hate speech defines hate speech as any kind of communication in speech, writing, or behaviour that attacks or uses pejorative or discriminatory language with reference to a person or group on the basis of who they are. In other words, based on their religion, ethnicity, nationality, race, colour, descent, gender, or other identifying factors. Okay? So, like, the big difference between free speech and hate speech is saying something like, I don't agree with homosexuality. And then that would be free speech, and hate speech would be, I don't agree with homosexuality, I think they should all be killed. Right? There's a big difference there. One's expressing your opinion, a bullshit opinion, that's none of your business. You don't like gay people, don't be a gay. But then the other is expressing like hatred and oppression, meaning that like you don't think gay people should have the same rights as you just because of who they love. The same could be said of like, I don't like black people, and that'd just be free speech. That's your bullshit opinion. And then hate speech would be, I think all black people should be killed. Right? There's a really simple difference. It's not fucking hard, this. It's really, really simple. Like, unfortunately though, like where the big difference comes and where like the provocation comes and where like the violence ends up ensuing is when it comes to hate speech not being controlled. So like there was good examples a few years ago, wasn't there, of like black people punching dudes in the face for stuff that they'd said. Now the stuff that they said was that they thought that black people should all be killed, right? And then a black person hits him in the face. How is that not expected, right? Because even though you're just saying it, and that was the argument that came out from supporters of this guy who'd been punched in the mouth, he's just saying words. How does that black person know that you're just saying words, right? He doesn't know that you're not going to go round to his house and start killing his loved ones, because that's what you just said you think should happen. He doesn't know that someone is not going to hear your words and then go round to their house and start killing their loved ones. He doesn't know that that's going to happen because you've just said that you want that to happen, right? So their best course of action is to act by shutting you up, which is why hate speech should be regulated and controlled, because there's always a consequence. There's either a bad consequence of someone listening to your hate speech and reacting to it to victimize those you're speaking about, or there's a bad consequence the other way, where those who you are speaking about hatefully come back and beat the shit out of you for the stuff that you said, which is fair play, because how do they know whether they're going to be under an actual threat or not? They don't. So all they can do is act, really. And yeah, I mean, like recently, there's been a hell of a lot of shit like this recently. Donald Trump, we already mentioned that. Nancy Pelosi was nearly murdered the other week. This hasn't been like made nearly as big of a deal of as it said. So a right wing, I think he was a GOP member. I'm not 100% sure. Let's have a look. I'm on the friggin' internet. Literally the reason I do this is so I don't have to just chat shit and you have to take my word for it. So Pelosi. Well, charged with attempted kidnapping. Are you kidding? Right, so what basically happened? Where are we here? The Guardian. Yeah, it's quite a reliable source, but yeah, there we go. So the man accused of attacking Paul Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi's husband, the husband of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, told police he wanted to hold the Congresswoman hostage and break her kneecaps, authorities in California said on Monday. Right, now this all came about. What basically happened is, if you missed this story, a guy broke into Nancy Pelosi's house. Nancy Pelosi is the what are they called? The Democrat Speaker of the House in America. Someone broke into her house with a hammer, couldn't find Nancy Pelosi, so assaulted her husband with a hammer. This came after a right-wing politician, I think he was a GOP, who said with a gavel. Right. So he was in a speech somewhere. There we go. McCarthy. Accept all. Okay, so Kevin McCarthy was the guy's name. Who said it? House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy. I'm assuming he's, Republican. So, Republican House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy. This is from USA Today, so it's just a bit of an overview. What he basically said at one of his rallies was that he'd like to take a gavel, which is a judge's hammer, and beat Nancy Pelosi with it. Now, obviously, he said it as a joke. But then a week after that, someone broke into Nancy Pelosi's house with a hammer, trying to beat her with it, and actually beat her husband with it. So yeah, words matter, which is why hate speech should be regulated and free speech should be protected at all times. Now, obviously there needs to be regulation from... It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Twitter. I think I'm probably going to do a second one of these free speech ones when it all calms down and we actually see what happens with Twitter. Because obviously Elon Musk's opinions of free speech and what free speech actually is completely different to what free speech actually is. Because we pretty much have it anyway. And it's protected by law and yada, yada, yada. So it looks like he's probably going to get in a lot of trouble for literally not protecting free speech when he said he bought the platform to protect free speech. So we shall see. We should keep our eyes open. Like I say, so a quick one for this week. So that's about wrapped me up, to be honest. In conclusion, we need to regulate hate speech, get rid of as much as that as possible, because all it does is incite violence and hurt and bully people, and it actually restricts free speech. Free speech should be protected. You should be allowed to express your opinion, no matter how shitty that opinion is, but you've got to make sure you're aware of what consequences will happen. If you have a shitty opinion about someone, don't expect them to just go, oh yeah, okay, and really get on with you. Expect them to argue back and exercise their right to free speech to tell you to shut the fuck up and that your opinion is shitty. That's about the length of it. Quite a nice, fun little one to get me back into it right now. Thanks for listening. Yeah, you can see us on YouTube if you want to have a watch of the videos and see all the websites that we went to, or you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast from. Thanks a lot, and I shall see you again soon.